I'm training all 151 Pokémon in Generation 1 across Pokémon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Today, I'll assemble my first team in Pokémon Blue, and train my Pokémon until they can beat Pewter Gym. As always, I'll be ranking the Pokémon I train on my ongoing tier list after that, so keep watching until the end of the video. Now, I already trained a first team of Pokémon in Pokémon Red, and I highly suggest watching that video before this one. I'll leave a link in the video description below. For this episode, my team will be sort of a foil to last episode's team, so I'll be comparing each Pokémon Blue Pokémon to its Pokémon Red counterpart. But with that said, it's time to train them all. The first Pokémon to join my team in Pokémon Red was Charmander, so it's only appropriate for Squirtle to be my first Pokémon this time around. Squirtle is one of 3 starter Pokémon given out by Professor Oak at his lab, and since breeding was not introduced until Generation 2, players are limited to 1 per save file. As for stats, Squirtle has pretty much the same attack and special stats, just like Charmander. Its speed and HP stats are not the best, but where Squirtle really shines is in its high defense stat, the highest of the Generation 1 starters. Squirtle's first battle is against my rival's Bulbasaur. This time I'm going to make use of my starter's status move, Tail Whip, to lower Bulbasaur's defense. I definitely find status moves that lower defense way more useful than those which lower other stats, like Bulbasaur's Growl. Squirtle starts hitting Bulbasaur with Tackle, which in this generation has a base power of 35 and an accuracy of 95%. Unfortunately, that means it can sometimes miss, as just happened to Squirtle. Thankfully, its next tackle lands a critical hit against Bulbasaur. But Bulbasaur has been using Growl to lower Squirtle's attack stat, so to compensate I have to use Tail Whip again. However, Bulbasaur keeps using Growl, so this battle is gonna get slower and slower. Then, Squirtle misses a tackle for a second time, which really sucks. Charmander truly has an advantage over Bulbasaur and Squirtle by knowing Scratch instead of Tackle. Finally, both Pokémon are just using Tackle, but thankfully Bulbasaur's remaining HP is already way lower than Squirtle's. At this point, we will win this battle if we just keep using Tackle. But yeah, this battle turned out to be a bit of a slog. Charmander's first battle in Pokémon Red was way more fast-paced. After one last tackle, Bulbasaur finally faints, and we beat my rival for the first time in Pokémon Blue. After beating my rival, I train Squirtle while passing through Route 1. Once Squirtle reaches level 8, it learns Bubble, its first water-type attack. After purchasing Pokeballs, I then head to Route 2 in search of new Pokémon. Eventually, I catch a level 4 Pidgey, which will be my second Pokémon for today. Pidgey has a high speed stat and a good attack stat, though both are way lower than Spearows, the other flying and normal type Pokémon available at this stage of the game. Pidgey does have a higher defense and special stat than Spearow, while having the same HP stat, thus having a bit of an edge defense-wise. I immediately start training Pidgey at Route 2 with the help of Squirtle. Once it reaches level 5, it learns Sand Attack, a status move which lowers the target's accuracy. I then move to Route 22, where I find my third Pokémon for today, a female Nidoran, a Poison-type Pokémon. Compared to its male counterpart, female Nidoran favors its defensive stats. It's got great HP and defense stats, while having lower attack and speed stats. Its special stat is the same as male Nidoran though. However, where female Nidoran really slacks compared to male Nidoran is in its moveset. At first it knows Tackle and Growl, but once it reaches level 8, while male Nidoran learns the incredibly strong Horn attack, female Nidoran gets to learn Scratch, so basically a slightly better Tackle. I also trained Pidgey up to level 8 and Squirtle up to level 10 at Route 22. My team is now ready to face my rival for a second time. First up, my level 10 Squirtle faces my rival's level 9 Pidgey. As I said, Squirtle now knows Bubble, a water-type attack move with a low base power of 20. Squirtle hits Pidgey with it, but it doesn't do much damage. I decide to change strategy by having Squirtle lower Pidgey's defense with 2 Tail Whips, with Pidgey thankfully missing its Sand Attack in between. Pidgey then hits Squirtle with a critical hit Gust, which leaves it at almost half of its HP. But then, Squirtle hits Pidgey with Tackle, which now deals some serious damage thanks to the Tail Whips. After hitting Pidgey with another strong tackle, Squirtle manages to knock it out. Next up, my level 8 female Nidoran fights my rival's level 8 Bulbasaur. Now that Nidoran knows Scratch, there's really no point in using Tackle anymore, so I hit Bulbasaur with Scratch. Bulbasaur uses Leech Seed against Nidoran, which will inflict some damage against it and also heal Bulbasaur at the end of each turn. Bulbasaur also uses Growl against Nidoran, which lowers its attack stat and thus its scratches will be doing less damage than before. The next turn Nidoran hits Bulbasaur again with Scratch, and Bulbasaur uses Growl once again. Like the first time I faced my rival's Bulbasaur, this is starting to turn into a protracted battle. The sad thing is, there's not much else female Nidoran can do in this situation instead of using Scratch continuously. There's no point in using Growl when Bulbasaur isn't really attacking, and there's less reasons to use Tackle. By this point, after Leech Seed heals Bulbasaur, Nidoran is only doing a marginal amount of damage against it each turn. On the other hand, Bulbasaur hasn't really inflicted much damage against Nidoran, so by now there's a massive disparity in remaining HP between the two. So I'm pretty sure Nidoran could eventually beat Bulbasaur, but that would take some time and this battle has gone on far too long at this point. So, I switched out Nidoran for Pidgey, which then hits Bulbasaur with Gust. Unfortunately, Gust is a normal type move in Generation 1, so it's not super effective against Grass-type Pokémon. No matter though, after a second Gust, Bulbasaur faints, finally ending this battle. We now move to the game's first dungeon, Viridian Forest. Fortunately, in Pokémon Blue, Caterpie is the most common wild Pokémon found in it, with Weedle being a much rarer encounter, so my Pokémon won't be getting constantly poisoned. That's good because this time around, none of my Pokémon know super effective moves against the Bug type, resulting in longer battles. The bug catcher trainers at the forest still use high-level Weedles, however. One of them actually managed to poison my Pidgey, which then fainted while I was walking towards Pewter City's Pokémon Center. The fourth Pokémon to join my team for today is Caterpie. This bug-type Pokémon is not very good, unfortunately. It's tied with Weedle for having the lowest stat average of Generation 1 Pokémon, with most of its stats being really low. Only its HP and speed stat are decent. But whereas Weedle could poison enemy Pokémon as a reliable tactic, Caterpie's only attack move is Tackle, which isn't helped by its terrible attack stat. Additionally, Caterpie is weak to poison attacks, so every once in a while when encountering Weedles, Caterpie can't defeat them on its own. I trained my Caterpie at Viridian Forest until it reaches level 10, stopping it from evolving into Metapod. I also trained Pidgey up to level 12, with it learning Quick Attack at that level, and female Nidoran to level 14, at which point it learns Poison Sting. Now, before facing Pewter Gym, I'll do a quick run-up of the rules I'll be following to challenge it in case you haven't watched the first Pokémon Red video. In short, each one of my Pokémon must beat at least one of the Pokémon found at the gym on its own. Once the battle starts, I can't switch my Pokémon away. Additionally, item usage, though not encouraged, is allowed. With that out of the way, it's time to face Pewter Gym, which will once again prove to be quite challenging due to its Pokémon's really high defense, and also due to the fact that 3 out of my 4 Pokémon only know normal type attack moves, which are weak against the rock type. First up is Junior Trainer's level 11 Diglett, which my level 10 Caterpie will be facing. Aside from Tackle, it only knows String Shot, but that move won't do much to lower Diglett's high speed. That only leaves Tackle, which unfortunately doesn't do as much damage as Diglett's Scratch does to Caterpie. Soon, Caterpie's remaining HP is far below Diglett's. But just when I was starting to lose hope, Caterpie managed to land a critical hit with its third Tackle, leaving Diglett in the red. A fourth Tackle and Diglett is out. What an incredible comeback! Next up, my level 14 female Nidoran faces Junior Trainer's level 11 Sandshrew. Like last time, best strategy to use against this Sandshrew is to poison it before it lowers Nidoran's accuracy by using Sand Attack. So Nidoran starts hitting Sandshrew with Poison Sting, with its second hit managing to inflict it with poison. Now we can start hitting Sandshrew with female Nidoran's most powerful move, Scratch. So female Nidoran hits Sandshrew with its Scratch, but it seems like it only does about as much damage as Sandshrew Scratch despite the 3-level difference. Fortunately, Poison complements Scratch's damage nicely, and pretty soon Sandshrews' HP is about as low as Nidorann's remaining HP. Sandshrew manages to land a sand attack against Nidoran, but fortunately, Nidorann's next scratch still hits Sandshrew. By now, its HP is lower than Nidoran's. After another scratch, Sandshrew only has a few HP remaining. It hits Nidoran with another sand attack, but it's too late for that. Poison takes out Sandshrew at the end of the turn, and with that, Junior Trainer is beaten. Now, it's time to face Gym Leader Brock and his Rock-type Pokémon. First, my level 10 Squirtle faces his level 12 Geodude. And even though Bubble has a meager base power of 20, it's still a Water-type move with a double-type advantage over Geodude. It lands as a lucky critical hit, and so Squirtle achieves a one-hit knockout against Geodude. So that was a very quick battle, but here's a much longer one. My level 12 Pidgey against Brock's level 14 Onix. It actually took 6 whole minutes. You're watching it at 3 times speed. As you just saw, I first got Onix's accuracy as low as it can get with Pidgey's sand attack. I do this because Onix turns into a pretty heavy hitter with Tackle once it hits its opponent with Screech, which lowers the defense stat by 2 stages. So, the idea is to have Onix miss as many Screeches and Tackles as possible. Still, Onix actually manages to take more than half of Pidgey's HP once it does land a Tackle hit, so I use a potion to heal Pidgey. As for the strategy I'm using, it relies on hitting Onix with a mix of both quick attacks and gusts, which only do 1 HP in damage against it, but allow me to take advantage of move priority. Quick attack always lands before Onix can use Bite, and Gust always hits after Onix moves, so that means I can use it the same turn Bite hits without repercussions. I also use Sand Attack once Onix uses Bite as a way to avoid inflicting damage that will be returned to Pidgey. And slowly but surely, Onix's HP keeps getting lower and lower, while its tackles keep missing and missing. Now I'll admit that this is a pretty desperate strategy, but it wasn't my original plan to have Pidgey face Onix. I actually planned to have female Nidoran face Onix and poison it until Brock ran out of full heals, but Poison Sting just kept missing and missing due to a Generation 1 bug. I might explain it in depth in a comment down below if you guys are interested in that. But anyways, after many turns, one last quick attack from Pidgey feints Onix, and with that, we have beaten Brock. My first Pokemon Blue team has successfully challenged Pewter Gym. Before ending the video, as always, I'll rank today's Pokemon in my ongoing tier list. While my first Pokemon Red team was full of strong attackers, my first Pokemon Blue team was made up of more defense-oriented Pokemon. No one embodies that better than Squirtle, of course, which I'll be ranking in the A tier alongside Charmander. Its high defense combines nicely with Tail Whip, allowing it to take some hits while lowering its opponent's defense in turn, thus setting up stronger tackles. Bubble, while being a weaker move than Charmander's Ember, is nonetheless more than enough to sweep Brock with its double super effectiveness. As for Pidgey, I'll also be ranking it in the B tier alongside Spearow. Maybe if Gust were a flying type move in this generation, it would rank even higher. But as it stands, where Spearow's main advantage is its really strong peck, Pidgey's Sand Attack and Quick Attack allow it to go for different strategies with which it can beat tough opponents, like Onix. The next Pokemon, however, will rank lower than its Pokemon Red counterpart. That's right, female Nidoran is going in the C tier. I feel that unlike Squirtle and Pidgey, its defense-prone stats are not as well complemented by its move pool. I feel it would really help if it learned Poison Sting at a lower level. Hey, maybe at level 8 instead of Scratch. And also have it know Scratch from the start instead of Tackle. A change that Game Freak actually implemented in Generation 3. Last, I was pretty disappointed by Caterpie's performance at Viridian Forest, and thus was ready to rank it lower than Weedle. However, Caterpie then took out Junior Trainer's Diglett with its Tackle without even having to use potions to heal it, showing me that I was being a bit too harsh on it. So I'll go ahead and rank it at D tier as well. I do feel Weedle is the stronger Pokemon, however, because it can beat bulkier opponents by poisoning them, while Caterpie has no strategy to beat such Pokemon. So, what do you think? Do you agree with these rankings? Leave a comment down below if you think one of these Pokémon should be ranked higher or lower. Also, if you'd like to share any fun memories you have with any of these Pokémon in the comments, please do. I'd like to read them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode, where I'll be training my first team in Pokémon Yellow. See you on the next one!